All right, everybody, welcome back to Skywatchers Radio. We have our guest, Mr. Brent Holland. Brent, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. I have to tell you, it's a real treat and a real pleasure. I wish it was on better circumstances, though. What a bummer. We've lost one of the great ones.
You know, when I booked you, when I booked it last week, I was like, yeah, we're going to have a great time. Brent's going to be on. He's such a great guest. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then Dr. Roger Lear passes away, and I'm like, bummer, now that my whole week is ruined.
Yeah, and you're quite right. You were saying in the first part of the hour that I guess we're at that stage now when we're starting to lose a lot of the legends. I noticed that I do a lot of the Kennedy assassination thing too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And just recently we've lost James Tague, who was inadvertently responsible for the magic bullet. He was the third person hit in Dealey Plaza that day besides Governor Connolly and the president. And because of him, the Warren Commission had to run back and scrap their first report and invent this magic bullet, because now they had 4 wounds that they had to account for with only 3 bullets. So we just lost him. What a shame. And Ted Sorensen passed away a few years ago. He was JFK's speechwriter, my friend. And so I guess, I had Stan Friedman on the show, and everybody knows Stan, God love him, he's a great guy.
Oh yeah,
good people.
And he was saying, it's a rush to the graveyard because a lot of these first person witnesses are starting to pass away now. Mm-hmm. And it's just so tragic. We grew up thinking that they're never going to get old, they're never going to leave us, and we'll have them forever. And gee whiz, life is fleeting at best, isn't it, guys?
Oh, it's incredible. And of course, not to forget Jesse Marcel Jr., who passed away again.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not long ago. And, it's funny, Brent, looking at some of these people that are, passed away and looking at the, what's left of ufology, there really doesn't seem to be anybody, or not even just ufology, but you can count the paranormal, conspiracy, across the board. Anything that deals with these kind of subjects that we talk about on this show and other shows like ours, the faces that are coming forward are not really to the same level in some sense. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but for example, like we were saying earlier, we don't know who the next Roger Lear is. I mean, who's going to be that next pioneer? Who's going to take that mantle and run with it?
Yeah.
I know I could say this. I'd nominate Jesse Marcel III for ufology to continue that work. I mean, he's
well-spoken guy, and he's fluent, and he's up to date on everything. He might not be a bad person to pass the torch to, but who's out there that we don't know about? That we should know about? That's the real question.
Maybe someone from the ranks is going to rise up unexpectedly. Let's hope.
But who are in the ranks now? That's the real question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think right now the one person one of the people that I respect the most, I got to say, in ufology is obviously Stephen Bassett. So if I'm going to say anybody deserves to have people back him up right now with the work he's doing, is Steve Bassett, and obviously Jose Escamilla and the stuff that he's doing also. It's just amazing work. But I mean, who's going to be that next person? Because we're not all going to be around forever, and this begs the question: if the government stays silent enough for a long period, and a lot of these folks, do pass away, how long will it be until the population just doesn't care anymore?
I don't know if that'll ever happen, because there's so many great shows like your own that cover this topic, and they cover it very, very well. There's so much interest on the internet. It's played a key role in keeping these things alive. And, with the advent of cell phones, every cell phone has a telephone. It has also something called a camera in it with incredible resolution that I'm embarrassed to say, even 5 years ago, it's better than my handheld camera.
And getting better by the day.
Hold on.
Jeez,
Great resolution doesn't mean it's light sensitive enough to catch what's flying in the sky at night.
That's true. No, that's a very good point, actually. That's a very valid point. But I'll tell you what, we're not that far off. The really Galaxy G5 is coming out now with, 16 megapixel, and
but it still doesn't have night vision.
Incredible. Well, no, it doesn't. You can get an app for that, though.
But the app needs to have... the app doesn't work maybe for the first 3 feet in front of you, but nothing more than that. Come on.
Well, that might be true.
And those night vision apps, all they do is paint the screen you're looking at green. They
but
even
you know
have
what?
a thermal one too that makes anything moving look like it's got a temperature signature. You know,
I don't think we're that far off though, Alan. Really, from having that right in the palm of our hands on smartphones.
It would be nice, but I don't think it's going to be cost effective just yet. Trust me. Can you imagine what would happen if people had night vision cameras on their phones?
Oh man.
Okay, not just on the ufology side, but you know, there's. Yeah, for everything. We'll just leave it at that. It's, you know, just like we need now more surveillance. You know, what is it? Facebook now, the new Facebook app gives Facebook the permission, whether you acknowledge it or not, to turn your microphone or camera on whenever they choose to or want to.
Is
Really?
that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The new app that you download, the new update, has that in its terms of service. Yep.
All right, just give me a second. I'm going to go put a pair of pants on. And I have to warn the audience listening and you guys too. Don't be too judgmental if you're getting a visual right now. Remember, I'm in Canada. Canada's cold. That's all I'm going to say.
Canadian bacon.
Canadian bacon. So,
I was thinking more of shrinkage. Anyways.
I was going to say, is it pre-cooked or cooked? Pre-cooked or cooked bacon. It's not even a sausage. It's like you flattened it with
bacon bits.
Bacon bits. Oh God, that's just wrong. But
Now
actually, that did want me to bring up a topic here. I don't know if anybody here saw it or not. Has anybody heard about this new Ukraine video that showed up, where they actually videotaped on March 6th of 2014, possibly a large cigar-shaped flying saucer in the Ukraine near Chernobyl?
Whoa.
Yeah. If you want, I posted over a link to it earlier, and funny as it is, where I found it was a very reputable source, the Huffington Post.
They're very reputable. Yeah, it's not like the Sun.
No.
Yeah. Wow, this is interesting. Yeah, I will take a look at
Brent,
that.
I don't know if you could see that link or not. I
Yes,
just
I can.
put it up. And I don't know if, Angel, you want to actually put that up on the website and in the chat room for people to look at. But I was a little bit on the amazed side with it.
That's very good. Yeah, it's a good find, man.
It does not look like smoke and mirrors when I usually call on a UFO scene Bat Squatch, which if, Brent, you've heard our show once or twice before, you'll understand where that comes from.
Yeah, instead of bat...
No. There was a gentleman who was on the show with us a couple of months back. I'm not trying to beat him up for it, but instead of there being a Sasquatch, he was telling us about
It's another phenomenon called Bat Squatch.
Right, Bat Squatch. But he was telling me the wings are only 10 feet in length.
And it has the head of a bat.
And it has the head of a bat. And with
that's the coolest thing ever.
It sounds cool, but he's telling us that it can fly. And I don't believe it, because the weight of something the size of a Sasquatch needs to have a larger wingspan to be able to lift it up in the air.
Wow.
So that's why I call it Bat Squatch.
Bat Squatch. That sounds like a good description for it. Do you think it could be a hybrid of something?
I don't
Seems
know.
to be a lot of hybrids emerging right now. That's why I'm just curious.
Well,
and I'm curious with hybrids. Maybe you guys could clarify some of this. I'm wondering if it's just your average animal species trying to survive, and if there's not enough in the community, if you will, to mate with, they have to look outside
their species.
Yeah, maybe just to survive. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Interesting, but I would think
that's a possibility.
It's a possibility, but I would bring up the question as being not the bad cop on this show.
By the way, we did find a picture for Bat Squatch, and I just linked it to you here on Skype, Brent. I want you to look at that real quick. It's just an amazing description of the
Is that my photo
bee.
that I found?
Yeah, it's an amazing picture. I'm going to post it over on Facebook, everybody. Facebook.com/Skywatchers Radio. The Bat Squatch image.
Now. I recognize. I'm sure I dated his sister at one point.
Was she
you probably did. He is from the South, I hear, this Bat Squatch.
Well, I'm not going to say nothing because, yeah.
But
do I hear a banjo? No.
No. Then there's some mighty pretty lips there.
Pass the moonshine.
Oh boy, we're going off topic. Okay.
No kidding. But if anybody wants to see what's making us laugh so much, go to our Facebook page and you'll check it out.
And by the way, call in if anybody has sighted a bat squatch, please.
Oh, please do that. I'd love to hear from you.
Please, yeah, we really need that. But Brent, what about the hybrid thing? As not the debunker, but the more analytical person, or not the bad cop, but the number cruncher guy.
No, bad cop. You got it right the first time.
Okay, fine. Okay. Call me the bad cop.
Just say it right.
My question about that would be because pheromones play a really significant role in mating rituals in animals.
Right.
How would the pheromone difference and attractant let one animal get near the other if they're interbreeding?
Well, I can only speak for Canada because anything goes in Canada, as you know. We have gay
I saw that
marriage
video. Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go.
Well,
so
gay
that's
marriage
the only.
is fine. Everybody should be able to suffer like anybody else.
That's right.
Suffer when they get married. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think, coming from a heterosexual background, there could be many advantages. You could actually go to sleep after and watch the game together and not argue.
And those people are happy, man. They have like parades, like they march and like they get all happy and
you ever been in one? They're fun. They're a blast.
I've never been in one, but I tell you what, I love parades. I mean,
there you go.
Dude,
they must be doing something right. I don't know.
Go down to Key West to Fantasy Fest, and the stuff you'll see will be really, really entertaining, to say the least, for you. Go for it.
Man. Well, I'm not that far out from there, actually.
That's what I'm saying. You can make the trip.
Yeah. I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to make that trip. But
the reason why I bring this up, because you guys had mentioned Bigfoot before, and, I've done a few shows on Bigfoot. But there's another anomaly that has come to my attention. I did a show on, I guess I tend to call it a werewolf, but it's certainly not a werewolf, folks, in the Hollywood sense. It's a creature that stands upright that looks like a wolf. And I'm wondering where these creatures are coming from, because this isn't it's like UFOs, right? It's not just one or two people that have had maybe too many beers or something, and they're up at the cottage, right? I mean, these people, they're encroaching on small cities.
I keep on forgetting Canada doesn't have cabins. You guys have cottages, right?
Cottages, yeah. Okay. Or cabins, or whatever you want to call them. But, you get the idea. Like, they're encroaching more and more also on civilized areas, on what I would call, in Canada, there's a lot of uncivilized people here.
Well, what do you think the possibilities are, Brent, that drugs are just getting better and better?
And more legal and more legal.
Yeah, isn't that straight? We fought all these years. This is the dynamic that I can't figure out. We fought like hell all these years to ban cigarettes because we knew they were bad for our lungs and the kids and stuff. You don't want your kids smoking.
Well, hold on. It's not the tobacco. It's all the chemicals that they're putting in. It's not the tobacco that's bad. It's the chemicals. There's over 172 different cancerous-causing chemicals that are embedded in tobacco that are cigarettes. It's not the tobacco.
It's like they're telling you, smoke this, we're trying to kill you.
Well, the whole thing is they put in all the preservatives because they had to stay in the machines for so long.
Right.
It's all the preservatives and all that.
It's scary, though. Alan and Brent, it's scary when you think about everything around us has cancer-causing properties in it. There's a report that came out not long ago about McDonald's having chemicals in their food, which have been proven to be cancer-causing chemicals.
Oh, yeah.
So it's in our food, it's in cigarettes, it's in everything, sodas. I mean, you can't escape some of these chemicals. My question is, why are they using these chemicals in our food, in our products, in shampoos, in everything?
Sterility and population control.
Exactly. That's one of the main reasons. But what needs to be done to get these companies to stop using these products?
Well, we the people. And, democracies in Canada, too. I tell people all the time on my show, democracy's this precious gem. And you have to be interactive. You cannot just sit back. If you don't like what's going on, you got to get up and do something about it. We have the ability to do that. A lot of people have put their lives down so we can have that right to march and speak out against the government if we're not happy. We also have the right to run and make the change ourselves. So I'm all for taking action non-violently. I'm a big fan of Dr. King's, and I remember when Dr. King was alive.
Yeah,
I'm an old fart, folks, but the templates are there for change, and don't think one person cannot make change, because they can. And I'll reference Dr. King once again. So I think that you have to be very proactive in a non-violent, somewhat, not to say you don't have to be antagonist, but you have to be non-violent and perform.
Well, the way they're banning guns, obviously we don't have a choice about being non-violent or not. They're taking away everybody's guns.
Yeah, well, here, and this goes to what's going on over in Venezuela. What do you think of the situation over there?
Ukraine or Venezuela?
Venezuela.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Actually, I think Canada just pulled its ambassador, if I'm not mistaken. Big problems, without question. Is the United States like that? I don't think so.
Is it going to be like that?
No, I don't think ever.
No,
I think we the people are too entrenched. But you have to be prudent, right? Because we know governments lie, and they lie to protect themselves, and they lie to keep the people dumb. And we have to question everything. Absolutely, absolutely everything. And as a student of the 60s, Peaceman Groovy, you have to do that. We were taught that. I mean, there was lies about Vietnam. There was lies about JFK. We know that. There was lies about Dr. King's assassination, Bobby's as well, and Malcolm X. I mean, four big leaders. When I interviewed Ted Sorensen, who was my friend, I was in his Manhattan apartment. And what an apartment.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he lived in the apartment right across from where John Lennon was killed.
Oh, no, I knew you were going to say that.
He's in the Dakota building?
Well, just next door.
Oh, do I know stories about the Dakota building?
Brent, no kidding.
I'll finish up
as soon
quick on
as soon as you were mentioning that, the name John Lennon popped into my head like 5 seconds before you said it.
Yeah, that's the most haunted building in New York.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what they say, yeah.
That's where they filmed Ghostbusters, too, which is pretty funny as well.
Dan Aykroyd just lives up the street from me. He's a Canadian A.
Yeah, he is.
I had his dad
a
on
legend,
the show.
too.
He is.
Speaking of losses,
he's into
Harold
UFOs
Ramis,
also.
we lost also recently.
Yep.
Funny as it is, isn't Dan Aykroyd into UFOs as well, too?
Oh, yeah, big time, dude. Yeah, remember he had the vodka Crystal Skull that he put out.
Yeah, it's really good vodka, too.
No, but didn't he do a show? Didn't he do a UFO-based show at one point?
He did.
No, he did a documentary.
I thought he did a show, too, though.
I think he did a multi-episode show, yeah.
I'm not aware of that one.
Mysteries of the I can't remember the name of the show.
I know he did something with David Sarita. I think it was like a documentary with David Sarita. It was him being interviewed by him. They were like picking his brain, which was
He would be an interesting person to have on this show if we could try and figure out how to arrange that. To talk not about his comedy stuff, but to talk about his UFO stuff.
Oh, yeah, you know what? He'll be into it, too.
I had his dad on the show. I'm trying to get him on the show as well. And I'm writing a book, and I'm trying to get Dan to write the foreword for it. It's called Creepy Kingston. It's local ghost stories. And see, in Kingston, we have the maximum security penitentiary for all the serial killers right here, just down the street from where I live. And it scares the hell out of me to think.
If anybody knocks on the door wearing orange, don't answer it.
Can I give them your phone number instead?
Sure, go ahead.
He's far enough. I don't think they'll get to him.
We're in Florida. It's going to be a rough commute for him.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll tie you off. So that's what I want to do with Dan. But his dad was telling me why Dan wrote Ghostbusters. And the reason being is Dan's father, when he was growing up as a little kid, witnessed his father, Dan's grandfather, doing seances right at the family farm. I would say 6 miles north of where I'm living right now.
Oh yeah, you got to do the math, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's okay. I was right at the age where stupid Canada changed it over and made our life miserable from the American system or the British system, if you will, and changed everything into kilometers. So I still measure everything by inches and feet. And everything that comes off the truck is 4x8 or 2x4. So this whole crazy metric system, that's fine. I think if we were living in Britain, in Europe, but we're in North America, guys, so.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so.
Didn't we fight like a war to get away from them a long time ago? If I'm not mistaken. I mean, then we have this British invasion in the 60s. I mean, what the hell? Superman is played by a British guy now. Did you guys know that?
Is he really? Is he really? Who's that?
Yeah, they took away Superman, man. What the hell? Superman's like, he's the symbol of America, and it's a British guy now.
Did you know he was invented by a Canadian?
Well, yeah, one of them was Canadian, the other one was just a regular Jewish dude.
Yeah. So, that's funny stuff. We got off track there. I'm going to come back to Ted Sorensen. Ted Sorensen, I spent the afternoon with him, and he was saying that many, many things of wisdom, and he walked us through the letter he wrote to Khrushchev to get Khrushchev to back down during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and there are big lessons to be learned there. Because we were so close, he told me that Jackie, President Kennedy's husband. I'm going back to Canadian.
That would be a whole different show right now.
America wasn't ready for that.
No. Now you really know why he died.
It was trying to get a Catholic in. Never mind, a gay guy.
Hi, my name's Jackie. The surgery went well.
Yeah, so Jackie called Jack and said, I want to bring the kids home. She was in Florida at the time. Because I want us all together. They had a swing set on the white lawn at the time for the kids. I want us all outside on the White House front lawn when the bomb drops, so we could all die together. That's how close we were.
Wow!
And imagine if the bear escalates things in the Ukraine, and a line is drawn in the sand, a line that is irreversible. The same thing could happen within 24 hours. You'll have Mrs. Obama calling her husband. And in those days, 1963, there was no bomb-proof, nuclear-proof bunker underneath the White House.
There was Mount Weather less than not Mount Weather. What's the hotel that had the bunker underneath it that was less than 20 minutes drive?
Yeah, the bombs would get there in less than 5 minutes from Cuba.
Oh, from Cuba?
And, Castro was pushing for a first strike. He actually begged...
well, no, that's impossible. You're telling me that back then missiles were capable of Mach 3? Because the fastest that my understanding is 300 miles an hour is the fastest missile that was out there, even, well, not now, but up until the mid-'80s. And if it's 300 miles an hour, we're looking at maybe Atlanta within an hour.
From Cuba?
From Cuba. Do the math.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just telling you what Ted told me.
Well,
the bombs were only 5 minutes away. They wouldn't have time for anything, any evacuation.
Well, if there was a Russian sub, right off the bay, I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe Russian subs at that point in time were coming in and out of our territorial waters 100%.
Oh, yeah, in both areas. Yeah, it was very, very tense. Very, very, very tense, and it could get that way real quick.
Interestingly, though, I saw, I don't know if you've seen the show, what is it, Hangar 1, the MUFON Files? Their
good show.
First episode, you finally got to see it, good.
Got to see it, yeah.
Their first episode actually spoke to why Kennedy may have been assassinated because he was going to try and take the lid off the UFO situation. And
and you beat me to it. I was going to bring that up.
Do you want to talk about the memo?
Yes. Bring up the memo.
That's the memo that got burnt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have it on me in this computer. I wasn't prepared to talk about that. But do you guys want a synopsis, or do you know it?
Well, our listeners, and I'm under the impression, based on what we're being told, the numbers are pretty nicely high tonight. And by the way, folks, please call in. Don't forget, plug in the phone number.
Sure. Yeah. I'll answer any question. I'm not shy at all.
Okay,
the number again is 786-245-8127 for anybody who wants to call in.
All right, tell us about the memo and tell
the memo was addressed to the CIA, tasking the CIA to find out any information how the Russians would react, essentially, if they were to see UFOs in the sky.
And who was running the CIA at the time? I love this answer.
I think it was it Alan Dulles at that? Dulles? No, it was John McCain at the time.
I thought it was Bush.
No, Bush would have been a lower guy.
I could have
Was it
sworn
McCain?
I could have sworn they pointed out that the first Bush, Walker Bush, was one of the heads of the CIA at the time. And
he was at one point one of the heads of the CIA.
Right, and I think
much, yeah.
I was under the impression that the letter went to him.
Yeah,
or the memo went to him.
Bush was the head of the CIA under Reagan.
No,
wait a second.
No,
he was vice president under Reagan.
Yeah, I think he told over. When did he take over? Was it after Colson? During Carter's administration? But I know he was the head of the CIA for sure. I think it was.
It could have been during
Colson.
Carter's. It could have been. It could not have been done during the Carter administration because he was running for vice president by then.
Mm.
So
he ended up in charge at one point. You're right.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and I'd have to check that.
When in doubt, we could always look at Wikipedia.
Yes, we do have this thing called the Internet or the Undernet, but
as George Bush Jr. calls it, the Internets.
True, and don't forget, according to Al Gore, he created it.
That is true. I believe Al Gore on that. By the way.
Okay. But Brent, tell us more about this memo. I find this whole thing fascinating.
Well, it is fascinating. Now, there's two ways to look at it. Obviously, there's no question that there are UFOs. There's no question in anybody's mind. Every rational person, no matter who I talk to, there's unidentified flying objects. What the hell they are? Who knows? They're unidentified, but
that's
they
the question.
Exist. Yeah.
Right.
In many cases, they simply do not react or act in any traditional aircraft that we have. Sometimes they zoom off in an opposite direction, turn around on a dime, and the speeds are astronomical, and then they're gone. So what are they? Are they extraterrestrial? I think in some cases, absolutely. In some cases, they're probably drones for sure, experimental aircraft that, you certainly don't want your adversary trying to figure out what type of technology you have. But to say we haven't been visited by those from abroad, I think would be silly. And to say we're alone in the universe, I say, God forbid we're the most intelligent beings in the universe.
Well, after I started watching Cosmos last week, I don't think we're the only intelligence and the most intelligent out there.
If we're the only life in the cosmos, I mean, first of all, it's a tremendous waste of space. It really is, because Jesus, man, it's so huge.
Yes, it
is. Complete waste of space.
Why are you bringing Jesus into this? We're talking about space. What the heck?
I'm sorry. He's Jewish. I'm sorry. I know he's not your favorite guy, but, just saying.
Oh, yeah.
But,
he's,
there's a
very funny joke, if you want to hear it.
Go for it. I'm always for funny jokes.
Well, three Lubavitch guys, very Orthodox Jews, go into a church because it's pouring rain outside, and they sit on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side is a bunch of nuns. So the gatekeeper comes around, the guy cleaning the floor and stuff, and they ask him, "Hey, what's going on in the church?" He said, "Well, the nuns are getting married today." He said, "Why are you guys here? Because of the rain?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Is it okay we stay?" He says, "Well, I think so." He said, "Why is that?" He says, "Well, if they're marrying Jesus, we're on the groom's side."
That's funny.
Wow.
Okay,
that is funny.
I got one better one. Jesus.
Oh, but make it clean, man. I got to warn.
Okay. Jesus walks into a hotel.
Oh, boy.
Puts 3 nails on the counter and says, "Can you put me up for the night?"
Oh, see, that's just wrong, man.
Oh, thank God it wasn't Muhammad. We'd have.
Come on, that was clean,
man.
That was clean.
Well, it was sort of clean, but that's going to upset a lot of people, man. By the way, if you want to address anybody for that,
call in.
Alan
call in and yell
gmail.com. Yeah, call in and yell at him.
Now,
call in, yell at me.
Have you guys yourselves, do you have paranormal experiences?
I have.
Oh, tell us, please.
I have. I've had multiple. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you saw me put the link on this. If anybody wants to buy a stuffed alien, there is one being sold on Craigslist right now for a reasonable amount of money.
And by the way, this stuffed alien has had camera usage in the past. At one point, it was peeking through a window of somebody very famous.
Oh, you're kidding? This is the one that what's his face used?
No names. No.
When he went on, the guy that used to have a show on before Piers Morgan.
I guess.
Okay, I know exactly. I've had him on the show. Interesting.
Yeah, it's the same one, right? Yeah, it's a little peekaboo alien.
Yeah.
Peekaboo.
Yeah.
That's right. Man, and they're stating they want cash only, and it's a whole whopping. What's the price on it right now? $500, and I'm near it, folks. If you want it, I don't know if you're going to put this up on the website or not, but if anybody wants it, I will happily make it my business to pick it up for someone if they want to, if they PayPal me the money, and I will personally ship it out after I take a couple of photos.
But is that famous person going to actually sign it for us?
I'm going to be at a convention this weekend where there's a ton of sci-fi and fantasy celebrities at, but
well, he's out on bail right now. He might be there. So anyway, moving on.
Okay, if anybody wants that alien, but no, me personally, I've had a couple of personal experiences, and I've spoken about them on the show before. I don't know if anybody really wants to hear me rant about it, but what I do in my spare time, because of how I work and what I do for work, I have a lot of free time throughout the year. If I told you I have not been in my schedule right now, this past 6 weeks, I haven't had to work because I'm choosing not to work because of what I do for a living.
What do you do for a living?
I'm what they call a professional product demonstrator for different products that you ever go to a home and garden show or a state fair or a car show, and you have the person that's really, really, really well versed about that product in the booth trying to explain to you how it works and educating you on the product, but not selling it to you, but educating you on the product and making you make the choice of to buy it or not.
Yeah, it works because at Costco, I usually end up buying the stuff they're selling when they have folks.
So like now everybody listening in knows why he's going to be trying to sell you something like every couple of weeks. It's going to be a different product he's going to be hawking on the show here. Started with speakers, now the rubber alien. What's next?
Well, the rubber alien, it just happens to be, I'm scrolling through Craigslist and I found it. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And it's 4.5 feet tall. And it's not the little foam one you put in a 2-liter Coke bottle and it grows. Have you seen those? Have you seen those? They have them in the dollar store. They're pretty cool.
Way to live to the stereotype there, Alan. Way to live to the stereotype. Good job.
What? I'm not getting redneck on you here. I'm getting geeky. Okay?
That's okay, buddy.
I'm getting geeky with it.
Anyway, moving on.
So how does your job as not selling this stuff, but explaining these things, product demonstrations, how does that connect to your paranormal experience?
Real easy.
That's an excellent question.
Real easy, because I only usually work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's all I work. I usually have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays off.
So the rest of the week he's getting baked in a locked room with lights off.
No, not at all, not at all. That's
seeing chance and hoping he meets some spirits.
No, but what I do is, because I travel to different cities, I try and go on, see if there's any haunted properties that are around, or there's any ghost excursions, or any of the guys from the TV shows like Taps or whoever. Is anybody around filming or anybody doing anything? And I reach out, and because I go from city to city, sometimes I drive, sometimes I fly. If I'm driving, I might actually have some equipment with me where I will actually go into a haunted property and, try and record evidence. So midweek, when everybody's sleeping in the middle of the night, I'm sometimes out at a haunted property or a cemetery, depending on the weather, or, someplace where I'm trying to record evidence. And so I can honestly say I've had some really interesting experiences where I've caught stuff on audio, video, and photo. Absolutely, yes.
Have you ever caught children in an EVP? I'm sorry. Or have you
Close enough. It's late night, man. I understand.
It's okay. Have another sip.
Yeah.
No, I did a show earlier, and I'm still drained from that.
It's the Canadian beer, man.
No, it's not.
It's like now, it's the Mackenzie boys Canadian beer, man.
Did you ever? What bugs me is children. I just rips my heart open when I see a child, either in some kind of manifestation, half spirit, half human, in a picture, or perhaps more commonly in an EVP, and it just rips my heart to think that this child is trapped. It may not know that there's something better waiting for it. And I was just curious if you had ever caught any kids.
I've caught 3 or 4.
Oh, jeez.
I actually, the best one was I was on the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California, where I was actually in the first class pool area.
Sure.
I don't know if you're familiar with the Queen Mary, folks. Anybody familiar with it out there?
Google it.
Okay,
Queen
Google
Mary.
it. Yeah. Queen Mary is a nice large ship that was retired after World War II. That place is so haunted, it's not funny. Yeah, for a couple of different reasons. A little girl drowned in the pool. I actually caught audio of her singing, which was really, really cool. I caught that EVP, but
she seemed happy.
She seemed happy. I don't know if it was a memory or what they call a repetitive,
a residual
haunt.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure.
Or if she was interacting, because I caught it on audio. I didn't hear it at the time, so I don't know. Okay. But what really, really freaked me out was all the German screaming that I got on audio in the front cargo hold. Well, you got to understand why. Let me tell you the story of the Queen Mary if we have the time for it.
Sure, please.
It'll be less than 3 minutes or 4 minutes. During World War II, before World War II, it obviously was a passenger liner. But in World War II, it was used as a troop transport to go back and forth between the UK and the States. What had happened was it was also carrying prisoners of war in the front cargo hold.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, do you know the story about this? The USS Curaçao?
I know also that they would bring them back to Canada as well, and many German soldiers stayed here afterwards. But anyways, please continue.
Not a problem. During, usually that big of a ship, to make sure it doesn't get sunk by submarines or other ships, have escort ships surrounding it. And there was one particular ship called the USS Curaçao, which was traveling in front of it and doing a back and forth weaving in front of, like, you ever see those dolphins swimming in front of the ships and things like that? Okay, it was doing something like that, but obviously a little bit further out. Somehow the USS Curaçao slowed down to the point where the nose of the ship actually hit into the Curaçao and sprung a leak in the front cargo hold where all the prisoners were, and a good portion of them drowned.
Oh my God!
In that ship.
It must have been horrible.
Well, yeah, I believe you're right. It was, and I caught some really, really interesting screaming and talking in German in that front cargo hold, and some light anomalies on photo. I mean, I caught lights in midstream and midair. I caught stuff arcing with nothing in front of it or behind it. That place definitely has some activity, to say the least. I was more than impressed with it.
You need to put some of that stuff on the internet, man, like on YouTube or Facebook or something.
Maybe I'll let you do the website design to organize it. When it's
make me do all the work.
Yeah, when it's time.
Jeez.
When I have, come on, think about this. I got the film coming up that I'm working on. That's going to be so amazing. It's not funny. That's going to hopefully get the theatrical release. I've got me traveling across the country doing these shows. It's like, is my plate not full enough? Putting these on the internet and then having to play Q&A on it, and there are so many paranormal audio, podcasts and video on YouTube. Do I really want to add to the pile and have that scrutiny until my next once the film that what I'm talking about? Oh yeah. By the way, folks, I have a film I am working on.
I wouldn't give too much details there, my friend, until you have everything finalized and signed and all the T's crossed and I's dotted. And,
You're right. You
know what I mean? This is a good one, folks. It's a really interesting story.
And actually, Brent, I might want to have you do the soundtrack and be involved as well, too.
There you go. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. I'm working on a soundtrack now, Phantom of the Opera. It's a
nice.
remake of the original horror film, and it's outstanding. It's great. I
Really?
compose music for NASA, ABC, CBS, and all those guys. So I'll just drop some names there. But yeah, actually,
go through the alphabet, not a problem.
Yeah,
But
I did that earlier, by the way.
We'll talk offline, and no problem at all. So we don't,
The movie is based on a best-selling book on Amazon. So there's definitely some credentials, and people that are listening can even be involved in it as an extra. But that's a whole.
You just gotta get a hold of us. Easiest way: Skywatchers Radio TV at gmail.com.
Yes, there will be some fun stuff along the way on it. But anyway, my plate is rather full right now. After I get the ball rolling and the infrastructure done, my goal actually is to actually put up on one of the Kickstarter or indie websites because I have the proper.
I would go with Indiegogo other than instead of Kickstarter, to be honest, because Kickstarter, if you don't make your goal, if you're off if you're off like $2, man, they don't give you a penny.
Is that right?
Indiegogo, if you even if you don't meet your threshold on Indiegogo, like say you're a few bucks off, they'll give you whatever you get. If you're pledging or looking to get like $15,000 to get a project off the ground, and you get 14,000 something on Kickstarter, and they don't give you the money, how upset are you going to be? Pretty upset, right?
Yeah.
Well,
now, on Indiegogo, they'll give you the money. They'll give you all $14,000, which that alone could help anybody.
Absolutely.
If you're a grand off or a few bucks off, they should just give you the money. But, go to Indiegogo.com, everybody, if you want to get a project going. That's the best place to go to.
My project is, and I have the property that I've already looked at. It is a defunct hospital that I am going to set up literally a 24/7 ghost hunting cameras and audio files that everybody will be able to download and do their own EVP searches and their own video searches that they can be a part of the ghost hunting experience live right then and there without any worries.
This would be something to get Dan Aykroyd involved in.
Yeah, this is a nice spin. This is a nice, unique spin.
Yeah.
On a tried and true hunt, because we all know. Now, I was going to ask you guys,
and it's verifiably haunted. It is verified already that there is activity there. Is the best answer that I'm going to give. I'm not going to say what part of the country or what country it's in because there's actually 2 properties in Canada that were pointed out to me as well.
We have a mental institute here that goes back to the turn of the century that has been closed down for years.
Yeah, but is it desolate and still for sale?
It is desolate, and I don't know if it's for sale or not. I have tried myself in vain to get access to it, and because of insurance reasons, of course, liability, because they don't know the condition of the innards, they
Brent,
absolutely refuse.
Brent, you and I will talk after hours, after show, and we will find out who we need to contact to see about what the price tag is on it.
Sure, absolutely.
Because I would think there's at least 100,000 people that would drop $10 just once.
I would think so too. Now, what's always been curious to me, guys, and maybe you can help me out with this too. Why are hospitals so haunted? Why are mental institutions so haunted?
That's funny. There's one down here.
You will have the odd, for example, you'll have the odd university that might be haunted, maybe 1 or 2 ghosts, right?
Right, yeah.
But these things, they're just full.
Have you heard of the
time warp or something?
Have you heard of the Biltmore Hotel? Have you heard of that one? Biltmore Hotel?
Yeah.
Sure, the one in Tampa, right?
That's right.
No. Down here in Miami.
Biltmore. Oh, that Biltmore. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
there's another Biltmore that's just outside of Tampa that was also in World War II a hospital. That's where TAPS ran their convention a while back called TAPSCon.
By the way, we'll get to that in a second. We have a caller on the line. 925, you're live on Skywatchers Radio with Brent Holland, our guest. Welcome.
I can save you guys a trip to Canada. Just come to my apartment. I got ghost cats in my apartment.
Ghost cats?
Wow. Yeah.
Well, I honestly believe ghosts can see into a visual spectrum better than we can in the upper and lower infrared and ultraviolet. So when cats do look at things that are behind you...
No, you understand, Mike. You don't understand. My cats aren't seeing the ghost. My 2 cats that died are in the apartment.
His cats are the ghosts.
Okay, hang on. I got to ask you.
That's why I say ghost cats.
What's your name, by the way?
George.
First name. Hey, George, how are you? I'm Alan.
Okay.
Let me ask you, how old is the property that you're in? There's a logic and a reason why I'm asking this, though.
Mid-50s.
Okay. And, Brent, you had asked this question.
A lot of people have died here, by the way. So
okay. One thing I've personally noticed from personal experience, what I've experienced personally, more properties that have more limestone in the sheetrock, more stone in the building, it seems to act as a barrier, like, as I've said on a show prior, like a Faraday cage, where the energy gets trapped inside and it can't escape because it just doesn't, it can't move in the direction it needs to. It's obviously from the 50s, so I'm assuming it's more lath than, if a property has limestone from the walls being made out of lath and plaster instead of sheetrock, those properties seem to be more spiritually active and energy active, like castles in other parts of the world. More limestone in the stones that they cut, more activity. You'll notice the reason that more recent properties, especially with Chinese drywall, don't have as much haunting activity as some of the places that are made with lath and plaster, or have a high limestone or crystal dust content in the sheetrock.
Well, I know my one cat got killed in front of the building. The other cat I had to put to sleep. And both of them in my bedroom a lot of time meowing when there's no cat in here. I have two cats, but they're outside a lot. So
often I'll have guests on the show.
Come back, and another cat that died came back on my birthday and bit me.
No kidding.
Wait, but did you actually get physical marks from it?
Well, he had a habit when he was alive of coming on my chest and biting my chin. And one morning, at 5:30 in the morning, the exact minute he was born, because he was born next to me. I had two mama cats that had their babies in my arms on the floor. And I was lying on the floor with the heater going full blast. The room got as cold as a meat locker. Oh. And on my chest, I felt the outline of a head, tail, fur, feet, the whole thing. Put my hand down there. And his name was Snooky. He was named after Baby Snooks, the Fanny Bryce character. And
I was hoping it wasn't the girl from the Jersey Shore, Snooky.
No.
Okay,
and,
good.
I'm 61. I'm too old for that. And
good.
The cat bit me on the chin and disappeared. He had just died the previous year, had cancer, and that's my other cat. One of my cats had cancer, and he had gotten a habit of that in the last year. It was like biting me on the chin really hard, and so I knew he came back to tell me he was all right.
Could I just interject for a second?
Please, by all means.
Yeah. Please, yeah.
Very often I'll have people on the show and we'll discuss this very type of subject, not so much with animals, but with apparitions and things and ghosts that hang around houses. And what it is, I think it's a testament to and I can hear it in your voice, you're a kind guy, and they would probably stay with you because they were the happiest there. And that's not a bad way to spend eternity, right?
We also had one other weird thing in my life. The day my dad was buried, there were 30 of us. His spirit walked through my bedroom into the living room, looked at everybody there. My mother freaked out, walked through the living room and out the window. So our family's very psychic. Amazing. My mother knows that everybody's sick and when everybody dies. I've also had time portal experiences where I've gone and suddenly everything changes, and I'm back like one time everything changed, including me, and I was on December 6, 1941. All the cars changed, all the people changed. I was standing in front of a newsstand in San Francisco, and there was a news vendor there. And one time in San Francisco, there were 7 newspapers, and I looked at the newspapers, and the vendor had changed, my clothes had changed. All the cars were 30s, vintage cars. The people were dressed in those things. And I looked at the paper. It said December 641. And that happened twice in the city. And also in the Presidio, I was running on the city. My dad was in the Army. And a gunnery crew appeared in front of me. They were dressed in Civil War uniforms.
Good God.
San Francisco is a psychic sinkhole. There's lots of ghosts.
Yeah. Any idea why you would be projected there? Do you think it could have been past life experiences? Because obviously, if you're 65, you weren't born for World War II.
Might be.
Right.
I was told once by a psychic that I had died in World War II as a combat soldier.
Oh, God. Okay.
And my dad was in the Army for 30 years, and I've always been interested in the military. And I've died twice. I've been pronounced dead and came back when I was a child.
Okay, I got to ask the question.
Hold on. Have you ever had any regression therapy or anything like that?
That's where I was going to go.
No. I get enough trouble with this life.
Might not be a bad idea, though. I mean,
that's the best answer I've heard, George.
it is a great answer, but I mean, it might not be a bad idea. It sounds like you might have a really rich history.
That's all I need. Have another guy living inside of me telling me I can live with it.
Somebody else hanging out not paying rent, buddy?
That'd be my life. Have guys living in my brain, they'd all inhabit me, and then I wouldn't know who the hell I am. I don't know where I am now when I have coffee in the morning.
Wow, what a story.
That's an amazing story, George. It really is.
Yeah, remember any smells from San Francisco, George?
I'm sorry, what?
Did you remember any smells or textures or anything of that nature, or somebody you may have recognized?
Which one are you referring to?
1941, or when you were in San Francisco?
No, everything. I mean, that's a very busy street corner. It's where the Transbay Terminal used to be. They're building a new office building there. But everything on that street, all the buildings changed to the decor. They were all stores of the 40s and 30s.
That's right. Yeah.
The clothing of everybody had changed. The cars. And now we have, collectors' streetcars in San Francisco. There were streetcars there. There were buses.
That's right.
And that happened on Sutter Street once. The same thing happened. Everything went back to the 40s. So,
all right, I got to ask a question if I can, George.
Or what? Yeah.
I got to ask you a question here. Did these experiences happen before or after you died and came back, or did you die, or did you just have an NDE?
Oh no, I died at 5 and 12. So this happened. This stuff happened in the 70s.
After, yeah.
Okay, so you were already tuned in, quote unquote.
Right. That reminds me of the movie Flatliners. Remember that movie when they all die on purpose and they come back?
Yeah, that did not have a happy ending. Yeah,
no, it did not. No, it did not.
Also, my grandfather, when he died, he was in Germany. We were living in Washington, D.C. My mother woke up at 3 in the morning. He was standing in front of the bed. So we're tied into all that stuff. That's why I'm convinced there's something going on after life. I went through the tunnel, saw the light, was floating above my bed, saw the nurses and doctors. And I remember that much. But as a kid, you don't have any concept you're going to die.
That's right.
I just knew if I went to the light, I wasn't coming back to my body.
Some people say they were met by Jesus. Some people say no, there was no...
I'm Jewish. I'm not going to meet Jesus.
We're surrounded by them tonight, Brent.
That's okay.
Based on how Brent pronounced something earlier, I think he qualifies as well. Yeah.
No, actually,
don't you guys believe in Jews for Jesus, man?
No, I'm
actually... The Messiah has not come according to us.
Mashiach. That's why, I studied with the Lubavitch in Montreal, the Torah Center, but I'm a goy.
Okay.
Well, I'm
I can pretend to be a Jubin just to fit in.
My mother's a professional Jewish family,
Okay.
But I'm not.
Was there a warmthness to the light or anything, George? Was there a warmthness to the light? Was there good feelings towards it, or anything of that nature?
No, I saw this really bright. It was kind of like a car headlight in a tunnel.
Oh, okay.
And I had the sense that if I went, or a train headlight, you see a train approaching you.
Sure.
That's scary in itself, yeah.
And I knew but it wasn't a train.
Understood.
I had problems with the train when I was 2. I crawled down to the train tracks of the Pennsylvania Freight Line. My mother found me there sitting waiting for the train.
But, oh my God, George!
I was an early rail fan,
Okay, so we got 5 years old, then 12 years old, but you could have hit 3 years old.
Right.
Yeah. This thing looked like the effect you get for a train light coming toward you down a track. The Doppler effect coming toward you that goes away.
Any sound then, George? You mentioned Doppler effect. Any sound?
Did you hear tracks?
No, I know. Didn't hear tracks. I was in a long tunnel, and there was this bright but diffused light. I'm just using an analogy.
Did you hear anything? Did you hear music or people asking you to come towards the light?
No. I just knew. Somehow I sensed. Now at 5 and 12, I had no concept of dying. I'd known anybody who died yet. I did later, but that if I went into that light, I wasn't going back to my body, and I was dead. I was pronounced dead the second time. I didn't come back. My heartbeat, respiration, pulse, they couldn't find anything. Second time I was dead apparently for at least a day. Everything stopped. But my mother is a retired nurse. She told him, "You're not going to take him away. He's still here." The first time I had 107 fever. She had them packed in the ice. Wow. The hospital happened. They happened to bring the ambulance to her hospital.
Right.
And they thought she was nuts. In Europe, they did that for high fevers for years. They put me in a sitz bath and dumped ice into me. I was in that bathtub for 3 days. I was gone for 3 days.
Oh my!
I don't know where I was, but I was gone.
Wow.
I wasn't in my body. And I came back. So
yeah, you came back.
And I've talked to Daniel Brinkley about this.
Sure.
And
yeah.
Why did I come back? And it's probably to post online. I don't know, but because I do YouTube videos. But the guy from Pittsburgh. But
why not?
You're meant to come back to be on this show tonight and talk about your experience.
That could be too. Yeah. By the way, I missed you guys earlier because I came home and it's allergy season. I'm dying right now. About Dr. Lear, and I'm sorry that happened to him. And by the way, I recently went to a hospital for surgery within the last couple of years.
Okay.
And frequently, they forget about you. They get so busy at the nursing station, they forget about people. My mother was a nurse for 50 years, and I know what happens in hospitals. You go in there, and the next thing you know, a couple of hours have passed. You go out and use the bathroom, and you go to the bathroom by yourself. They don't always escort you.
Yeah, it's not a conspiracy.
I was talking about that last night.
No, it's not a conspiracy. I know folks like to say, "Oh, well, there must be some kind of conspiracy. He was left alone." You know what? My mother has been in and out of the hospital the last year, and it's happened to her. I mean, they just get so busy at the hospital.
My mother's 95. She just had another heart attack, but she
God bless her.
Away. I don't know how she.
Well, it's only going to get worse with Obamacare.
Huh?
Gee, thanks there, Alan. That's way to bring us down.
Now, is there not a law, folks? Is there not a law in the United States where if you're ill or you're on deathbed, they have to treat you?
Oh yeah, there is that law.
So they can't just
but I'll tell you what.
Push you to the curb, right?
With her, she had a do not resuscitate. They resuscitated her anyway, so they ignore the laws.
Oh. Not to mention that they don't actually they can't ignore you, but they could push you off to another hospital if they don't want you and you don't have the right insurance.
Oh, I see. George, can I ask you a personal question? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to. Did it affect your faith at all? Did you become more or less religious? I hate to use that word. I don't know how else to describe it.
We know he doesn't believe in Jesus. We know that much.
My dad took me to Catholic church on Sunday. My mother took me to temple.
Oh, you poor soul! You are confused.
So spiritually, don't forget, religion and spiritual are
two different things.
Are two totally different things. You know.
Well, I have a weird problem with me anyway. It's not weird, but it's weird to me. Animals follow me. Cats.
Wow.
I've had deer come up to me. I've had a wild cougar come to me and flop like a cat and one petting, and everybody's freaking out. I've had
George, you're the animal whisperer, my friend. That's what you are.
I've had police dogs come up to me and flop. I got banned from the racetrack because the horses going to the paddock would come over and nuzzle me while I was standing there reading the form. So every dog here in town, I live in Martinez, every dog here in town, people walking the dog will veer over to me and start wanting petting. So there's something about me with animals. I don't know.
George, and this is a serious question. Have you ever had any communications with the cats or with animals in general? Like, have you ever been around an animal and they've said something that you sensed and you knew what they were talking about?
No, I just talk to them all the time. You know, hello, dog. You're a beautiful dog, and they immediately come over to me, and I look at them, and they'll come over to me. So I don't. It's not a conscious thing, you know.
Right.
But I've had people just go, my dog doesn't do that, or my cat doesn't do that. And the BART police got mad at me. I used to go to Lake Merritt, and their police dog is going me and flop. I think, what are you doing with the dog? What do you mean your dog? I'm standing here.
I guess that there's something inside you that they sense is very soft, if you will, or very approachable. And
either that, or we take an EMF meter to him and see if he lights it up or not.
Yeah, maybe his near-death experiences opened his senses up.
Once we were at a pond, I had a whole family of deer. The doe, the buck, and 2 babies come up to me and went petting. So there's something, I don't know, maybe I was St. Francis. Who knows?
Maybe.
I wonder if this is why...
I think he was with animals and stuff, if I remember correctly, but I'm a little rusty in my Catholic theology. It's been 40 years since I looked at a catechism.
Maybe there's something to that on your return to this world. Just throwing that out there.
I was always, even as a child, I was into UFOs. My mother's into astrology, so I was always looking into this stuff. My dad could never understand it. You and those damn UFOs, he used to call them. And I said, Dad, I'm reading about things that people don't understand. Yeah. And when I was in the Civil Air Patrol, we saw a 4-football field long UFO. The Air Force told 500 of us we were looking for a plane in the Sierra, that it was Venus. That's when I didn't believe the Air Force anymore.
Wait, a 4-foot long
1966.
Hold on, the 4 football long
field.
Was it what was it shaped like?
Like a I don't know how to describe it. You know what curves from left to right on boats on the top and the bottom?
Right.
Okay, the big arc wing.
That's what it looked like. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was the size, I would estimate at the time, an arc wing commander, the wing commander of the Civil Air Patrol in Presidio was an active Air Force officer, and he raised so much hell saying his cadets and the searchers were personally insulted for the Air Force telling us we saw Venus at a time of the year when Venus couldn't be seen. And the other thing is, we were trained to identify stars, planets, because we had to go out and look for planes.
Sure, yeah, right.
And that was in 1966 when I was a junior cadet. I was 14, something. Yeah. So wow. When that went on, I said, and I had been reading Keogh's books anyway, and Adamski and all of those guys, Frank Scully, Frank Edwards. But I said, I don't believe the Air Force when they tell me. I know what I saw. I don't know what 500 of us saw. There was a big stink about it at the time. That you're telling us it was Venus. So this is why.
Has anybody else in your family had similar experiences with UFOs and stuff like that, or has it just been yourself?
Well, we also saw one. My mother and I saw one. We were driving on 101 in Marin when Marin had orchards and fields, and there was one sitting by the freeway.
Jeez.
Oh my!
And that took off. It was this one was kind of weird though. It kind of looked like Lonnie Zamora's craft in New Mexico. It was on stilts. And it was bright silver, and it only was there for a minute, and it went up and disappeared. So that was when I was 12. So there's something going on. I don't think I've been abducted or any of that stuff, but this has always been an interest to me. I've got about 150 paranormal books in my apartment too. But
wow,
my mother knew when my uncle died. He died of a heart attack in his retirement. He came home from dinner and died. And so she's a active receiver. I just have a sense that something's wrong, but I never know what it is.
It's a tremor in the force.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Maybe you just have a really high metachlorine count.
Hey, you guys laugh about...
Hold on. What's that?
Trust me, you don't want to know about the midichlorian count, my friend.
Yeah. But actually, I got to disagree.
I have a question I'd like to throw out, if you would.
Sure, go ahead.
I asked Stanton Friedman this. I didn't get an answer.
Okay.
I would like somebody to do a study of abductees to see if any of them have Tay-Sachs disease, leukemia, herpes, other diseases that kidney disease, because are the Greys abducting people that are totally healthy, or are they not abducting people that are sick? And no one's ever answered that question for me.
Well, you know what, George?
That's a good question.
On my show Night Fright, I had a guest on from Canada, and she's a psychotherapist, and she does hypnotherapy as well, and she's asking for folks from around the world to be part of a study she's putting together. And she's an honest broker, if you will. She's very sincere, and she's brokenhearted, too, at the recent death of Roger, because she did talk about him as late as last week. But certainly I can put those questions in an email to her and send it off to her and see if she could perhaps document some of the physical
one variable
maladies that they're suffering from. Sure, please go ahead.
Brent, one variable that I would put into that question is, diseases were they acquired? Like, obviously herpes is acquired. You're not really born with it. I'd be curious to find out if these abductees, do they have any genetic abnormalities?
Yeah, very good
Is
question.
anything inherited disease-wise? And were any diseases gotten by... Well, herpes isn't by chance.
Right, that's sexual, but
a disease you would get by chance, like measles, mumps,
right,
something like that. Something there's not a vaccine.
I'd be more interested if it's something that it's passed down through the genes through family.
I would be curious statistically across all three. Is there anything inherited? Is there anything that they acquired? Is there anything that's some other variable?
Yeah.
That would be very interesting.
Sure, George.
The other thing would be interesting to find out if any of these people have been cured of diseases after they got abducted, which I haven't.
That's interesting too.
Say here.
Yeah, I don't think it's funny you guys bring that up tonight, because I don't think there's ever been an in-depth study into abductees when it comes to any diseases like this. I don't think I've ever read anything dealing with this.
So that's one of the things. If he had lived one day, I've talked to Friedman. I have correspondence with Richard Hoagland. I bug George Norrie in my videos, the guy from Pittsburgh, and he's sending me his cookbook. I made fun of his cookbook. The price doubled on Amazon after I did my video. But I was going to ask Dr. Lear, hey, get someone to study these people and see what their medical history is, and see if certain things have a predisposition to being abducted or not.
That's very
like
interesting.
If you have diabetes or if you have kidney dialysis, are you not going to get abducted? Or if you're perfectly healthy, you're going to get abducted. And I'd be curious about, like, Whitley, what his medical history is, which I would have to ask him one day.
It's funny. I had another fella on from McGill University, which is in Montreal. It's kind of it'd be our Harvard, if you will, in Canada, to draw an analogy.
All right.
And his name is Dr. Dundary, and he did a study. And I asked him, I said, is it possible some of the abductees are using this as a coping mechanism for abuse that they inherited, not inherited, but they
suffered
through when they were kids? And he said he wasn't sure, perhaps in some cases. But he said, even then, he said, there's still so many similarities to people that don't have any sexual abuse or any physical or emotional abuse when they're children, and it seems to be generational, generation after generation. And to me, going back to the kid thing again, I'm a big child advocate. This makes me crazy. If I was a parent and couldn't protect my kids, oh my God.
And how much of it has to be attributed to, like, sleep paralysis and other things like that? I mean, when I was a kid, I suffered from sleep paralysis for years. I mean, I was the typical person who had sleep paralysis. They would wake up, not be able to move, look around the room, see things walking around, or feel things walking around. I had that happen a lot to me. I don't think I was ever abducted. I just think that it's just something that is wrong with the brain, and when you're sleeping, and something just happens. But how many of those people fall back asleep, have a dream that they were abducted, and then when they wake up, it's so vivid that they really believe that they were abducted and they were taken. How many of that happens to people that are, maybe fans of the genre of ufology and maybe watched the movie a few weeks ago, and that's just stayed in their subconscious mind, and they had this dream. Right. I mean, this could be, you could check off a lot of cases of abduction with certain easy explanations like that, but there's always that one little bit of percentage left over which you can't explain, and that's the ones that really are fascinating. It could be true stories. I think there is some truth to abduction cases. I don't want to dismiss them all. So
yeah, I think so too. Can I tell you? We kind of beat around the bush about a certain celebrity with a UFO.
Oh, my friend, let me tell you one thing. I never beat around the bush, but continue.
Okay.
If we have to say the name, you can say, I guess.
Stan Romanek was on the show,
correct.
And several years ago, and I was talking to him in all sincerity, and because I believe him, I really do. I think perhaps he's gone off a certain degree, but I'll tell you the story. I'll cut to the chase. I said, "Can you describe the aliens that come and get you?" And I thought he was going to say, "Yeah, the typical gray." And he said, "Well, at what age?" And I said, "Well, when you were a kid." And he said, "Well," he said, the aircraft came down, the spaceship was circular, and kind of describing, I guess, Close Encounters of the Three Kind, I thought.
Right, Third Kind, the movie, yeah.
Yeah, I said the Three Kind, and it is. I do apologize. And I've been composing all day for a score, and okay, poor Brent, and I should have had an extra cup of coffee. It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
It's okay, we won't beat you up too much on it, don't worry.
It is 3 in the morning almost, so you're forgiven.
Thank you, my friend.
Oh, that's right. You are in our time zone.
I recently read an article saying exactly what you brought up, that some of these people, it's actually a transferred memory of being abused as children.
Well, it
could be. Yeah.
He told me that the door opened up on the spacecraft, and this alien came out, and I said, "Well, what did it look like?" He said, "Well, I was only 8 years old. To me, it looked like a fireman." So I said, okay, we continued the rest of the show, and I let it go, right? Now, unbeknownst to him and unbeknownst to a guy who came up to me, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he came up to me in confidence at the radio station, and he's a minister. So he doesn't really listen to my show or anything. Not that he's against it, it's just not his thing. And he said, "Can I tell you something in confidence?" And I said, "Of course," and I've never revealed his name since. He said, "We were down in... let me pick an island. I won't give you the real island. Barbados. And I was 6 years old. My brother was 8 years old. Spaceship came down right around supper time. My father was inside cooking supper for us. Spaceship came down. Door opened. Out walked an alien. But the funny thing is, Brent," and I said, "What?" "It looked like a fireman." And I get goosebumps right now and every time I say that. Because these were two guys with absolutely no connection. He doesn't listen to the show. Same description.
Maybe there's a race fireman on a planet somewhere. We got 54 different kinds of aliens. There's another 55th now. You found a new race.
Planet Firemen.
Who the hell knows?
Maybe it's
George, I think you might be the best caller we ever have on this show, by the way.
Maybe it's all those guys that died, God forbid, in 9/11, and they went to another planet. They're coming back as physical beings. All those firemen and first what's the word? First
responders.
God, I can't think. First responders, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So
maybe they're coming back. That's weird. I never heard of firemen before.
Yeah, that's new. That's new to me. And I've interviewed Stan also in the past, and I'll be honest with you, Brent. I'm opposite from you. I really don't believe the story. And at first it was very interesting, and I want to believe. Okay. It's like everything. It's like the alien autopsy video in the '90s. I really wanted to believe that video. Mm-hmm. I was one of those people that I was like, yeah, man, an alien on the slab table. Look at that. It's dead and it's real. And then it turned out to be fake. And when I interviewed Stan, there's something about him. I could tell he's a very good speaker. He knows his story really well. He can present it very well. He's very approachable. He seems like a very nice guy. But throughout history, a lot of really nice guys who are really good speakers have been really evil. and done really evil acts. And I'm not saying I got that vibe that he was evil or anything like that, but from looking at the video proof, from looking at the evidence, and there was a video, and he had really a rough month, let's be honest. He got caught hoaxing in a video, in an interview. I don't know if you saw that. No. Hoaxing paranormal activity. This is hysterical. He was doing an interview, and I'll link it to you guys here in a minute. He was doing an interview on video, and I think the interviewee or the interviewer was in Australia. And in the video, you could, they're talking about paranormal activity that he's had and whatnot. And at one point, he flicks like what looks like a piece of paper or something towards himself, and it hits him on the head. And he's trying to play it off like that was, a ghost that threw something at him.
Was he messing around and joking, or? No,
he was like dead serious. And he started looking around like saying, "What was that? How did that happen? Where did that come from?" And he was trying to sell it as a serious thing. And the host kept going. Like he kept playing.
And who is this again?
This is Stan Romanek.
Oh, Stan Romanek. Okay.
Right. And I'll post the link right now also because we're short on time, so I don't want to go over too much. But I'm gonna post the link here so you guys can look at it on the Skype, and I will post it on our Facebook account also, so you guys can check it out there. Thank you. Not only is he caught that one time, he does it again, and he flicks what looks like a USB drive or something like that up in the air and hits him in the head. And then he looks around like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And you see, this happens to me all the time. These ghosts, and he starts going on about the story.
Hard drive sitting there.
The thing is, and this is something that I've seen people do before on video when they're trying to hoax something on video in a quick type of setting like this. I think what happened here is Stan didn't notice the camera, how wide it was capturing, and it actually captured at one point his hand flicking the drive into the air.
Busted. Sorry.
Completely. So, like I said, I just linked it on there again. It'll be on the Facebook page here in a minute. But
yeah, I'm calling that Squatch. Okay.
Once I saw that video, to me that was enough to know that Stan Romanek is either A, not playing with a full deck, or B, he's doing this stuff on purpose to deceive us, and that really ticks me off. And it's just another black eye for ufology in general to have a person like that doing stuff like that. And let's be honest, when he came forward, he was very vocal about the evidence he had, and he had all this stuff. Look, I'm buddies with people at MUFON. I'm friends with Alejandro Rojas, and all these guys supported the heck out of this guy, which is the reason why I got interested in this case, because he got so much coverage that you were drawn to the case. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where it drew everybody who was interested in this subject was drawn to his case immediately. And to be honest with you, just from looking at the evidence over the years, he's presented absolutely nothing that's made me a believer. The alien in the window, anybody could do that with the way technology is. I mean, we were saying earlier how advanced technology is, right?
Yeah, and the little rubber guy.
Exactly. It doesn't take... And I saw another... And this is the thing. This is what I love about Stan's videos. There's a couple of videos of him or of his that he's put on the internet. And there's another one that has a little alien also. It's in one of the rooms. And it's peeking through like the side, like where the wall is. And it's looking at like by the wall. And now, let me say something. If you're going to try to pick up aliens, at least let me see the whole body. If you're going to pick something up. Why is it every time it's behind something, cleverly disguising who's holding the puppet up, I guess? I mean, why is there a blurry video every single time? Because you need to have
the puppeteer behind it, and you can't
exactly.
Show them.
That's the problem, and that's exactly... every single video I've seen from Stan is very easy to just dismiss, and that's my main problem with Stan Romanek. Look, like I said before, I hope he has his day in court. If and he will have his day in court, obviously. If the guy is innocent, by all means, I hope that he gets his justice, and everybody who concocted this hoax against him to take him down are brought to the light, and and everything works well for him. If he is guilty, though, if this man is guilty. Because there's nothing worse than the crimes against children. As far as I'm concerned, that is the lowest of the low, folks. I mean, you can't get any lower than that. If he is guilty, burn him at the stake.
Amen.
That's just my take.
By the way, I've known two people who have gotten falsely accused of child molestation by Child Protective Services, and they went through hell to get their children back. So... for what it's worth on that. There's another thing about the alien in the window. Except for the case in New York with the lady floated out of her window was supposedly seen by the Secretary General of the UN. I've never seen the aliens abduct anybody if people live in apartments. Like
I've heard of New York. I've heard of stories in New York.
Yeah, but nowhere else. They're always in the first floor. The aliens don't want to go higher than that. They don't know how to use an elevator or the stairs or something. I don't get that part.
Well, folks, I live in Canada, and I always say that, we have aliens that are out in the open here, and they live in a place called Ottawa, except we call them politicians.
Yeah, well,
no. Those are pre-prison people.
I've been to Toronto. My relatives live in Mississauga, so
the
aliens get confused with the name changes. It used to be nice, friendly Fort Credit. Then I could spell Fort Credit. Who the hell changed it to Mississauga, for God's sake?
I have no idea.
One of my pet peeves.
Yeah,
George, you've been great. We're almost out of time here. I do have to let you go. We have to wrap up in a few minutes, but thank you for calling in, and please don't be a stranger. Call in whenever you like, my friend.
All right,
pleasure speaking with you, George. Take care.
Oh, that was a great call. That's right there. That would probably go down, Alan, as the call of the year so far. What do you think?
No, it's the call of the year so far. Yeah. I think we're going to get better.
I hope so. I hope we get a lot more callers in the future. It's Stan Romanek, going back to the whole thing with Stan. It's really a messed up case because, it's child pornography again. How many times have we not heard somebody in the ufological community or in the paranormal community or somewhere in the conspiracy world be charged with these kind of allegations? It seems like this is the one charge that they always throw at them, but there's so much evidence here, and this is where, I'm convinced that there's definitely something here, Brent.
Well, speaking of definitely something here, Earth Day is coming up on April 22nd, and CBC asked me to put together a little 2-minute vignette because I had interviewed Jane Goodall. And folks, you may not be aware of this, but Jane Goodall believes in Bigfoot. And she has perfect reasons for it, too. She said, I just sent you, by the way, through Skype, a little embed code. If you want to put that on your website, please feel free to. It's a high-def little 2-minute vignette of Jane Goodall being interviewed by me and her opinions on Bigfoot. Essentially, she says, and I'll paraphrase, that she's been in so many Aboriginal villages around the world, deep in the woods, some more deep than others, and they all have the same type of story. That there's usually two creatures, one's a bigger, furry beast, but not an ape, not a chimpanzee, larger than that, very humanistic. And she said, whether you go to northern BC, they call it Sasquatch, or the Abominable Snowman, or Bigfoot, every culture has a similar type of creature. And she said, it's just too many reports like we're getting with UFOs. I'll draw that analogy for it to be ignored.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Anyways, if you want to put that on your thing, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll put that on there. We definitely want to have you back on in the future. We'll definitely get into a
I'd have blast.
But yeah. No, but finishing off my thought here real quick on the whole Stan Romanek thing, because it's really important. This part of what I wanted to say was that the government would not spend so much money and time and effort looking, into something like this, if there wasn't something there. If the government wants to take you down, they could do it within 24 hours tops.
Agreed.
Oh yeah, I believe that.
There was such a long investigation. This goes back to 2008, folks. You're talking about years they were investigating, years, and they were getting tips. They tracked IP addresses. I mean, there's all kinds of evidence here that is more solid than the alien in the window.
Agreed. Did you ever have Paul Hellyer on your show?
Actually, I have.
Defense Minister?
Yes, I've had Paul Hellyer on the show.
So
not on this show, but on a different show.
Okay, so you know his viewpoints, and that's coming from a pretty heavy, credible person.
Yeah.
He was almost Prime Minister of Canada, by the way.
Yeah. But it doesn't mean that it's real, though. I mean...
Well, okay, that's true, too. But I'm just saying that, there seems to be more and more people willing to come forward with buried documents that we've never seen before, and I think the more documents we can get, we'll get into the reality of it all.
Oh, I agreed with that. I mean, look at all the stuff from the MOD, and
there you go.
All the files that's coming. Yeah, a lot of that stuff. Again, look, like we were saying, even about the sleep paralysis and stuff earlier. A lot of that stuff could be. There's a lot of stuff that could be explained away, but there is a certain percentage that always stays unexplained, and that's the percentage that we need to get to and explain away. And the only way we could do that, obviously, is we have full disclosure from all our governments, which, again, probably won't happen in our lifetime, sadly enough. But if there's anybody to support on that subject, is our good friend Stephen Bassett. So please, check out PRG's website and support what he's going through right now. And this month, they're getting all that stuff ready, and they already sent out everything to everybody in Congress for so they could look at the packages and see the presentation they put together for them. And hopefully that brings disclosure one day.
Hopefully. That would be very sweet. Very
probably
sweet.
Won't be in our lifetime, though, which stinks. But anyway, Brent, it's been a blast having you on, man, and I really want to have you back on so we could talk about Bigfoot.
I had a blast. I feel like we've been all together forever. That's terrific.
It's a small
real quick,
world
before we go off air and Alan starts singing a little bit more, once again, give your website address and tell everybody about your show, when they could hear it, and all that good stuff.
Oh, sure. My show is actually on Revolution Radio, but if you just go to the www.nightfrightshow.com website, all the shows are there in the archives for free for you to download. It's a paranormal conspiracy show. It's known as Canada's Coast to Coast. I get a lot of the same guests on. I get a lot of different guests as well. My big forte is JFK. As I said before, Ted Sorensen was my friend, and I've written a book on the Kennedy assassination. Well, I'll let it out of the bag. Ted Sorensen confirms assassination. And that's from the inner circle, folks. And
wow.
Bingo. Not a coup d'etat, but it was a conspiracy. And that's going to be revealed in my book, which is out, according to my publisher, next week. So don't hold me to that, because I've heard this before. And I love you, Deborah.
Yeah, Deborah. We definitely got to have you back on and talk about that book. I mean, that sounds interesting. Can you give me a PDF copy so I can check out the book or something?
Absolutely. No problem.
Yeah, I'll take that as a read also. And by the way, if you want to have me on for paranormal questions or some places that I've been and photo and video, I guess you can interview me if you want to.
It's funny because you must add clairvoyant to your list of attributes, because I was just going to ask the two of you on my show.
Yeah, I called the psychic hotline beforehand and they told me. But you think they would have gone out? The psychic hotline went out of business. You think they would have known that it was coming?
That's funny.
It's Miss Cleo. Call me now before I close up shop.
Yeah.
Have a good night,
bless everybody.
Once again, folks, thank you for listening in. This is Skywatchers Radio. See you next week.